Welcome to this podcast. My name is Savitri, and today I will be the moderator. And right now I'm joined with two very lovely people. One right here is Floral, and then on Zoom I have Cara. And now, before we start the discussion for today, can you please tell me about the background of yourself and why are you actually interested in gender-related issues? So maybe I could start with Kak Flo, maybe.
Okay, so first of all, hi everyone. As what Savitri has said about me, my name is Floral. Usually I go by Flo. Right now I'm an 8th semester student, final year student in international relations. I guess in terms of passions about gender, I've been, participating in gender equality movements throughout several organizations in FISIP UNER in our university. It's been going on for a little bit over 3 years, 4 years, academically speaking. But I guess in terms of passion, it's a given. Being a woman, growing up as a woman, experiencing life as a woman, it comes with that, I guess.
I agree. Okay, that is such an interesting background. So maybe you can start, Cara. Why are you interested in gender-related issues?
Right. So, like Flo said, just being a woman in and of itself, I have experienced sexism and misogyny just at in my day-to-day life. But also I am majoring in STEM at my university, and while there are more women than men who go to my university, there is still a lot of sexism within the STEM community here. And by majoring in STEM, I am trying to not only do something that I'm passionate about, but kind of maybe change that, as much as I can, just as an individual.
That is such a very noble reason to major in STEM, how you could be the representation that women need in STEM. So that's really cool. I myself, I've been I haven't been academically active in any organizations, but again, I do agree with Kak Flo. I guess it's a given thing since women, all of the sexism we've endured ever since we were young. It was what really motivates me to talking about gender in general. Okay, so I feel that in both respective countries, in Indonesia and as well as the United States of America, there are still quite a lot of areas for improvement when it comes to gender-related issues. Women, no matter where, still face quite a lot of sexism, both in outside of university and work, but also in structural sexism and all that's embedded into the patriarchy and all. So what do you think, what are the areas that we need to improve to achieve gender equality itself?
That is honestly a pretty broad question, especially I think for America. Sports, obviously, because I know that we're going to get into that, but even especially in the workforce, because there is a gender pay gap, not only within professional athletes, but within men and women in any occupation here in America. And I believe that pay gap gives men a sort of arrogance, if that makes sense, to believe that they are better fitted for the workforce than women are. And I feel that arrogance translates into day-to-day life.
I do agree, the whole wage inequality thing, it's also something that we suffer in Indonesia. A lot of women are not paid as equal as their male counterparts in Indonesia. So how about you, Kak Flo? What do you think that should be the areas for improvement to achieve gender equality?
First of all, I definitely agree with what Cara said, especially about how this is such a broad issue, sports, workforce, even in health, but definitely even at the very basis of it in terms of gender roles, in terms of stereotypes that are being translated on a daily basis to how women are expected to do this and how men are expected to do this, and these things that keep on reproducing on a daily basis and eventually just create this structural sexism that you mentioned. And of course, I guess As this is a very broad question, I think a broad answer to this is definitely the whole issue of misogyny in itself and how it became the core issue that causes these things, such as the inequality that women face, the sexism, and many issues.
As Kara mentioned, and as the topic today, we're going to be talking about sports and how the sporting industry is quite, it faces quite a lot of like gender problems. So in Indonesia, both in Indonesia and the United States, wage inequality exists. And in the United States, one of the recent things was that there's a bill that was proposed, and how like it could like treat like the wage inequality, because it's called the Equal Pay for Team USA law. And in that law, it basically asks like whether all of the athletes representing Team USA in global competitions, regardless of their gender, will be treated and will be received like equal compensation and benefits. So regardless of their gender, they could like receive the same amount of like rights, basically. So what do you think about this bill per se? Like, do you think that this law will actually help fix the structural problem of wage inequality?
I would like to think that it would. Typically policies are definitely very helpful with solving this sort of thing. But, there are lots of people in power here who will work to make that not happen. So they may try to reverse it or try to find some loopholes to work their way around it. So I would really love to see that happen. But it is hard to say. There are a lot of people in America who work to strip women's rights away.
Quite like a sad reality, because even though, yes, you've come like quite a long way from what women were like treated back like 100 years ago, we still have like quite a long way to go to achieve like gender equality itself, and especially in terms of wage inequality in the sporting industry. So maybe with Kak Flo, like how far do you think that a policy could affect a country's like treatment towards women? Like, do you think that if we apply this law in Indonesia, will the women also like will receive like a better treatment in the system? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think when a law is able to be executed properly, implemented properly, I think it could definitely help a lot of women, especially in terms of sports, because a lot of people think that by making laws, regulating things such as this is somehow discriminating towards men. But in reality, this is actually the type of assistance that women help in situations such as this. For example, in sports, if you're only expecting women to get paid based on the demands for women in sports, for example, it's going to be hard because, for example, as we all know, sports is not exactly something that you can campaign into popularity. It's always been something that's embedded in culture. For example, if we want to talk about, say, Lionel Messi, he's not exactly famous because people campaign for people to watch Messi, but he's famous because of how the culture has always been set up for men to like sports. That's why more men watch Lionel Messi. But if we want to talk about female football players, let's say Sam Kerr, not a lot of people know about her, or other female football players, just because in the culture itself, not a lot of girls are exactly encouraged to watch football, especially in third world countries or in developing countries. So definitely laws such as this could help closing the gap of that demand that was the gap of demand that was there because of a cultural problem, a systemic problem. So definitely when implemented properly, it could be an assistance of women.
Well, I do quite agree with the whole thing that, as women, like when we're young, we're taught to like Barbies. We're really taught to like how to like sports and all. I remember like going to the like toy section when I was younger. Like it was quite gendered from the very beginning. Like we were indoctrinated to like Barbie, to you know, like how sports is for guys. And like when I was younger, I still like watching the World Cup from time to time. And when a few times it is such a male dominated area. Like of course there are women who watches like sporting events, but the ratio of men to women, it's still outnumbered. So I do wish that by introducing a policy like this in Indonesia, it will actually like better our system, so that there's not as much as of a systemic sexism going on in both Indonesia and in the United States. So, okay, so now as someone who does sports, do you think that this law actually addresses the wage inequality still faced by athletes who don't really actually represent Team USA? Because this whole law is like designed for, you know, the female athletes who the equal pay for athletes that represent like Team USA. But there are, of course, you know, people, women who don't really, who don't really represent like Team USA. So do you think that this law will address that issue, or will it like actually create a gap between the sporting industry for women itself?
Okay, I'm a little confused. Are you asking if like I think the bill is only gonna represent like the women in Team US, like the women who compete? Yeah. For the United States and like the Olympics, or like female athletes in general?
Like for the team who are you're representing Team USA.
Okay. I think if the bill says that specifically, then it sadly will only be for those women. But I think if this bill gets passed and implemented correctly, then it could translate into the rest of professional female athletes in America.
Okay, well, I hope so, because if this is enacted into law, it will actually, hopefully, it will make a lot of like women in the United States be more, willing to achieve their dream. And, because I know that the sporting culture in the US is quite big too. So I hope that that could motivate more women to go into sports, so that could actually fix the systemic sexism that's going on. Okay, can I please get like a closing statement to sum up basically the points that you've made during this discussion? Like, what are your hopes for the future of wage equality in both Indonesia and in the US? So maybe Kaplo can start first.
I think in terms of hopes, I definitely wish for a better future for women, not just the women athletes, but for women in general. But I guess in terms of the wage inequality or wage gap itself, I do hope there's a better change to it. But I guess in terms of what we could do, I guess, definitely show more support to your fellow female athletes. Like, female athletes don't get enough support to begin with. So the least we could do is definitely be more vocal about it, show more support, and be more public about the support towards female athletes. Because as individuals itself, on a day-to-day basis, that's the least we could do, like being vocal about your support towards these things and showing there's this major difference and there's an actual urgent issue going on.
Okay, thank you, Kaplo. Maybe a closing statement from Kara?
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely with what Flo said. I think that this bill is just one small stepping stone in order for just women in general to achieve equality. I do think that this is going to be wonderful for female athletes, but it sadly does not affect the sexism and misogyny that all women face. But I think it is a step in the right direction. And yeah, definitely what she said about supporting these women is talk about them on social media, watch their games when they're broadcasted and stuff like that. And basically just put your voice out there and to talk more about female athletes and about this bill as well.
Okay, so well, sadly, we are gonna wrap up our discussion for today. So I would like to thank Kara for joining this discussion, as well as Scott Flo. Thank you for being here. So that's it from me. And to sum up, basically, despite like how far we've come through all of the journey, as all of the struggles we've faced as women, there's still quite like far like path to go to like true equality itself, especially in the sporting industry, in which since it is such a male dominated field, the women are still quite struggling with like wage inequality. And I hope that with this bill proposed, this could be like the right like stepping stone, so that in the future like women in all of the work industry could face like wage equality to all. So thank you for coming here, and goodbye.